I came home on a Tuesday. I remember because my wife Sarah had taken the day off work to pick me up from the airport. She was standing there at arrivals, holding a sign with my name on it, like I was some stranger she'd never met. And maybe I was. Maybe the man who'd left for Iraq 15 months earlier had died somewhere in the desert, and what came back was something else entirely. Something darker, something broken. She smiled when she saw me, ran up and threw her arms around my neck, and I just stood there, stiff as a board, unable to remember how to hug the woman I'd loved since high school. That's when I saw it in her eyes. Just for a second. Fear. She was afraid of me. And the worst part? I didn't blame her. My name is Michael, or at least it used to be. Now I'm not sure who I am anymore. I served 2 tours in Iraq, 2006 and 2007, right in the thick of it when the insurgency was at its worst. Fallujah, Ramadi, places that sound exotic until you've seen them covered in blood and rubble. I was an infantry sergeant with the 1st Marine Division, leading a squad of 12 men through some of the most intense urban combat American forces had seen since Vietnam. We cleared houses, we kicked down doors, we fought an enemy that looked like everyone and no one at the same time. Before I deployed, I was a different person. I was the guy who coached Little League on weekends, who took Sarah out dancing, who couldn't wait to start a family. I believed in right and wrong, good and evil, all those clear-cut concepts they teach you in Sunday school. War has a way of turning all those certainties into gray areas. It takes the black and white and bleeds them together until you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. Sarah and I had been married for 3 years when I got my deployment orders. We were young, maybe too young, both of us just 24 years old. She cried when I told her. Not because she didn't support my service, but because she knew. Somehow she knew that the man leaving wasn't going to be the same man coming back. I promised her I'd be fine. I promised her nothing would change. I was so naive it hurts to think about it now. The flight to Iraq felt surreal, like I was watching it happen to someone else. We landed in Kuwait first, spent a week acclimatizing to the heat and the gear, and then they shipped us north into Iraq. The first thing that hits you is the smell. Burning trash, human waste, dust, and something else, something metallic and wrong that you eventually realize is death. It permeates everything. Your clothes, your skin, your lungs. You carry it with you everywhere. My squad was good, really good. We had Jenkins, a 20-year-old kid from Alabama who could shoot the wings off a fly at 300 meters. Rodriguez, a tough-as-nails corporal from Los Angeles, who'd grown up in gang territory and said Iraq was safer than his neighborhood. Kowalski, our demo guy, who could blow a door or disarm an IED with the same casual ease most people make coffee. And Peterson, my right hand, a 32-year-old veteran of Afghanistan who'd re-enlisted because he said he didn't know how to do anything else. We started with routine patrols, securing neighborhoods, talking to locals, trying to win hearts and minds. But routine doesn't last long in a war zone. Our first real engagement happened 3 weeks into the deployment. We were clearing a block in eastern Ramadi when the shooting started. It came from everywhere, rooftops, windows, alleyways. We took cover and returned fire, and that's when I killed my first person. He was maybe 17, 18 years old, coming around a corner with an AK-47. I didn't think, didn't hesitate, just raised my rifle and put 2 rounds center mass like they trained us. He went down, and I kept moving, kept fighting, because that's what you do. You don't stop to process. You don't stop to feel. You just survive. But that night, back at the FOB, lying in my bunk, I couldn't stop seeing his face. The surprise in his eyes, the way he fell. I'd taken a life, ended someone's existence. And the thing that scared me most wasn't that I'd done it. It was how easy it had been. How natural, like flipping a switch. I wrote Sarah a letter that night, tried to explain what I was feeling, but the words wouldn't come. How do you tell the woman you love that you're becoming something monstrous? The months blurred together after that. More patrols, more firefights, more bodies. We lost Jenkins in month 4. IED took out our Humvee, and he bled out before the medevac arrived. I held his hand while he died, watched the light fade from his eyes, and all I felt was numb. Not sad, not angry, just empty. Like someone had scooped out everything human inside me and left a hollow shell. Rodriguez got hit by a sniper in month 7, through and through shoulder, wound he was lucky, but watching him scream in pain while I applied pressure to stop the bleeding. Something inside me snapped. I became obsessed with finding that sniper. We spent 2 weeks hunting him, going door to door, interrogating anyone who might know something. I wasn't gentle about it. I pushed the boundaries of what was acceptable, what was legal, and nobody stopped me because they understood. They felt the same rage, the same need for vengeance. We found him eventually. He was holed up in an abandoned school, and we went in hard. The firefight lasted maybe 5 minutes, but it felt like forever. When it was over, when the smoke cleared, I stood over his body, this middle-aged man with graying hair and sad eyes, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no closure. Just that same hollow emptiness that had become my constant companion. That's when I realized I'd changed. The man who'd left San Diego 15 months earlier wouldn't have recognized the thing I'd become. I was efficient, cold, mechanical. I followed orders without question, completed missions without emotion, and killed without hesitation. My squad respected me, maybe even feared me a little, because I got results. But I wasn't a person anymore. I was a weapon, a tool, a monster wearing a human face. I tried to hide it from Sarah. In the letters I sent, I talked about the heat and the food and the guys in my squad. I made jokes, asked about her job, told her I loved her. But the words felt hollow, copied from some script of who I used to be. She'd write back, long letters full of love and hope and plans for when I came home, and I'd read them like they were written in a foreign language. I couldn't connect to that world anymore, couldn't remember what it felt like to be the person she was writing to. The worst incident happened in month 13. We were clearing a house, routine stuff we'd done 100 times. But this time, something went wrong. There was a woman inside and she moved too fast. Reached for something and I reacted. Put my rifle on her before I even thought about it. Turns out she was reaching for her child, a little girl maybe 3 years old, hiding behind a cabinet. I didn't shoot, thank God I didn't shoot. But I came so close. My finger was on the trigger. Pressure already applied. And only years of training kept me from pulling it that last millimeter. I left that house shaking, not from fear, but from the realization of what I'd almost done, what I'd become capable of. Peterson found me outside vomiting in the dirt, and he didn't say anything, just put a hand on my shoulder and waited until I could stand again. That night, I looked at myself in a mirror for the first time in weeks. I barely recognized the face staring back. Hollow eyes, hard lines, a permanent expression of controlled violence. This wasn't me. This was something else. My deployment ended 2 months later. They shipped us back to Kuwait, then back to the States, and suddenly I was standing in that airport trying to remember how to be Michael again. Trying to remember how to be human. Sarah drove us home to the apartment we'd shared, the one I'd left over a year ago, and it felt like a museum. Everything was exactly as I'd left it, but it all seemed small and fragile and utterly foreign. That first night, Sarah made my favorite meal, pot roast with all the fixings. She'd gone to so much effort, set the table with candles, wore that blue dress I'd always loved, and I sat there, pushing food around my plate, unable to taste anything, unable to feel anything. She kept trying to make conversation, asking about my flight, about what I wanted to do now that I was home, and I gave one-word answers because I didn't know how to tell her that home didn't feel like home anymore. We tried to make love that night. She initiated it, and I went through the motions, but halfway through I had a flashback. Suddenly I wasn't in our bedroom, I was back in Ramadi, clearing a house, and I pushed her away so hard she fell off the bed. The look on her face, the confusion and hurt and fear, that's burned into my memory forever. I tried to apologize, tried to explain, but the words wouldn't come. I just grabbed my pillow and went to sleep on the couch. That set the pattern for the next few months. Sarah would try to reach me, and I'd push her away. Not because I didn't love her, but because I didn't know how to love anymore. Didn't know how to be vulnerable, how to be soft, how to be anything other than the hard, cold thing I'd become. I couldn't sleep in the bed with her. Couldn't have my back to a door. Couldn't relax in public places. Every car backfiring sent me diving for cover. Every crowded mall made my hand twitch for a rifle that wasn't there. I got angry at stupid things. Sarah left a cabinet door open, and I screamed at her for 20 minutes about situational awareness and security. She forgot to lock the front door one night, and I spent an hour checking and rechecking every window, every entrance, like insurgents were going to come bursting through any second. She started walking on eggshells around me, afraid to set me off, and I hated myself for it but couldn't stop. The worst part was the nightmares. Every night, I'd be back there. Sometimes it was Jenkins dying in my arms. Sometimes it was that woman in the house. But in the dream, I'd pull the trigger, watch her fall, watch her daughter scream. Sometimes it was all the faces of all the people I'd killed, standing in a circle around me asking why, and I had no answers. I'd wake up shouting, drenched in sweat, sometimes swinging at shadows, and Sarah would be pressed against the far wall, terrified, and I'd see in her eyes what I'd become. A monster, a threat, someone she didn't recognize. 6 months after I came home, she asked me to go to therapy. The VA had recommended it. Post-traumatic stress disorder, they called it. Like giving it a name made it less real. I refused at first, told her I was fine, I just needed time. But fine people don't wake up screaming every night. Fine people don't check their six every time they leave the house. Fine people don't keep a loaded pistol under their pillow and a knife under the mattress. She gave me an ultimatum eventually. Get help or get out. And I was so far gone that I almost chose to leave. Almost walked out on the only person who'd stuck by me, who'd tried to love the monster I'd become. But something in her eyes that day, some combination of love and desperation and sheer exhaustion, broke through the wall I'd built. For the first time since I'd come home, I felt something. Not much, just a tiny crack in the numbness. But it was enough. I went to the VA the next day, sat in a waiting room full of other broken men, other monsters trying to remember how to be human. The therapist they assigned me was a woman named Dr. Chen, a veteran herself, Marine Corps, Operation Desert Storm. She didn't coddle me, didn't offer empty platitudes. She just looked at me with eyes that had seen the same darkness and said, "Tell me what you did." Over there. And I did. For the first time since I'd come home, I talked about it. All of it. The kills, the fear, the rage, the numbness. Jenkins and Rodriguez and that woman in the house. The way I'd stopped feeling human, stopped feeling anything except the mission, the objective, the next target. I talked until my voice gave out, and Dr. Chen just listened, nodding occasionally, making notes, but mostly just bearing witness to the confession of a man who'd forgotten his own soul. She told me something that day that changed everything. She said, "You're not a monster, Michael. You're a Marine who did monstrous things because that's what war demanded. But those things aren't who you are. They're what you did. And there's a difference." I didn't believe her at first, couldn't see how there could be a difference when the blood on my hands felt so permanent, so defining. But we kept meeting twice a week, then once a week, working through the trauma, the guilt, the rage. She taught me techniques to manage the nightmares, to ground myself when the flashbacks hit, to separate then from now. She helped me understand that the hypervigilance, the aggression, the emotional numbness, those were survival mechanisms. They'd kept me alive in Iraq, but now they were destroying my life at home. Sarah came to some of the sessions. We did couples therapy, working through the damage I'd done to our marriage, the trust I'd broken, the fear I'd caused. She told me things I hadn't realized, like how she'd started sleeping with a phone next to the bed in case she needed to call for help, how she'd stopped inviting friends over because she never knew which version of me would show up, how she'd spent nights crying in the bathroom, mourning the man she'd married, wondering if he was ever coming back. Hearing that nearly destroyed me. The thought that I'd hurt her scared her, made her feel unsafe in her own home. It cut deeper than anything I'd experienced in Iraq. Because the enemy. There had been clear, but here, I was the enemy. I was the threat, and I didn't know how to fight that. Recovery wasn't linear. There were good days and bad days. Days where I felt almost normal, almost human, and days where the darkness would swallow me whole and I'd end up on the floor, reliving firefights that happened years ago. But slowly, painfully, I started to come back, started to remember who I'd been before the war, and more importantly, started to figure out who I could be after it. I got involved with a veteran support group, other guys who'd been through the same hell. We'd meet once a week, drink coffee, share our stories, and just exist in a space where we didn't have to explain ourselves, where everyone understood why we couldn't sit with our backs to the door, why loud noises made us flinch, why some days just getting out of bed felt like a combat mission. One of the guys in the group, a Vietnam vet named Charlie, told me something I'll never forget. He said, "The war doesn't end when you come home, son. It follows you, lives in you. But you get to choose whether it defines you or refines you, whether it makes you bitter or better. I spent 30 years letting it define me, drinking myself to death, pushing away everyone who loved me. Don't make my mistakes. I took that to heart. Started volunteering with veteran organizations, helping younger guys transition home, offering the support I wish I'd had. Started going to the gym, channeling the aggression into something productive. Started writing, getting the stories out of my head and onto paper where they couldn't haunt me as much. And most importantly, I started letting Sarah back in. Started being vulnerable, sharing the darkness instead of hiding it, letting her help carry the weight I'd been bearing alone. It took 3 years before I could sleep through the night without nightmares. 5 years before I could hear fireworks without dropping to the ground. 7 years before I could look at myself in the mirror and recognize the person staring back. The process of becoming human again, of shedding the monster and finding the man underneath, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than combat, harder than losing friends, harder than anything Iraq threw at me. Sarah stuck with me through all of it. There were times she could have left, probably should have left, but she didn't. She fought for our marriage as hard as I'd fought in Ramadi, and slowly we rebuilt what the war had destroyed. We learned to communicate and to trust again, to love again. We had our first child 2 years ago, a daughter we named Grace, and holding her for the first time, I wept. Not from sadness, but from gratitude. Gratitude that I'd made it home, that I'd done the work, that I hadn't let the monster win. But I'd be lying if I said I'm completely healed. The scars are still there, visible and invisible. I still have bad days, still struggle with depression and anxiety and survivor's guilt. Still wonder why I made it home when Jenkins and so many others didn't. Still carry the weight of the lives I took, the decisions I made, the things I can never undo. But here's what I've learned. You don't have to be perfect to be good. You don't have to be undamaged to be whole. The war changed me, broke me, turned me into something I didn't recognize, but it also taught me about resilience, about the human capacity to survive and adapt and overcome. It taught me that darkness doesn't have to be permanent, that even the deepest wounds can heal if you're willing to do the work. If you're a veteran struggling with this, if you came home to a family that doesn't recognize you anymore, if you look in the mirror and see a monster staring back, I want you to know something. You're not alone. What you're feeling, it's not weakness, it's not failure, it's the natural result of experiencing unnatural things. War breaks us because we're human, not because we're weak. And being broken doesn't mean you're beyond repair. Get help. I know it's hard. I know admitting you need support feels like surrender. But it's not. It's courage, real courage. The kind that doesn't get you medals, but gets you your life back. Call the VA, find a therapist, join a support group, talk to your chaplain, do whatever it takes. Because you deserve to come all the way home. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too. And to the families, the spouses and parents and children of veterans who came home different, who came home broken, I see you too. I see the courage it takes to love someone who's struggling, who's not the person you remember. Thank you. Thank you for not giving up, for fighting alongside us, for believing we're still in there somewhere underneath the trauma and the rage and the fear. You're heroes too, in ways that never get recognized. The man who left for Iraq in 2006 died somewhere in the desert. That's a fact I've had to accept. I'll never be that person again, the naive kid who believed war was glorious and heroic. But the monster who came home in 2007, he doesn't exist anymore either. I killed him, slowly and painfully, through years of therapy and work and support. And what emerged from that death, what I've become, is something new. Someone who's seen the darkness but chooses the light. Someone who's been broken but chose to heal. Someone who knows what it costs to take a life and chooses every day to build life instead. I still remember that Tuesday at the airport, seeing fear in Sarah's eyes, knowing I'd become something unrecognizable. But I also remember last Tuesday, our anniversary, when she looked at me with love and pride and said, "I'm glad you made it back. The real you." I knew he was still in there somewhere, and maybe she was right. Maybe the real me was always there, buried under the trauma and the violence, waiting for a chance to come home. So if you're out there struggling, if you've become someone you don't recognize, if you think you're beyond saving, hear me. You're not. The monster is just armor, protection against a world that suddenly feels too loud and too bright and too vulnerable. But underneath that armor, you're still human, still worthy, still deserving of peace and love and a life beyond the war. It won't be easy. Recovery is its own kind of combat, its own kind of deployment. But this time, you don't have to fight alone. This time, reinforcements are available. And this time, the mission isn't to destroy, it's to heal, to rebuild, to remember that underneath the uniform and the trauma and the pain, you're more than what the war made you. You're more than your worst moments. You're a human being deserving of compassion and second chances and hope. Come home, all the way home. The people who love you are waiting.